Well, Florida State's back in the news again. Actually, I should say they probably never left the news. This issue about what happened with the college football committee, I think, is just causing a lot of stir up within, college football. I work on some of the writings and things like that, and trying to figure out, you know, what was actually done that's so different here. And as you can tell, Florida State is a different scenario. If you had left out Texas or you left out Alabama, I think you would have only heard about this for a week because ultimately those two teams did have a one loss, which you could always resort back to and say that's the reason why you didn't get in. But because the fact that you had an undefeated Power Five conference champion to be omitted out of the playoffs, I mean, yeah, I understand there's five power conferences out there. But ultimately, I'm surprised the committee did it. I really thought that Florida State would just get in number three, and then they would have taken a chance with number four on whether it was Texas, whether it was Georgia, whether it was Alabama. I'm sure all of them had a case for it. But this isn't going away, and I don't think it will because it changed college football. Ultimately, I think that now you look at it on the committee and saying, who is this committee? Do they really understand what it's like to be a coach? Does it understand what it's like to be a player? And I think that their decision making was more kind of a network decision. And I think that that's where the conspiracy theories start to fly, is what would make a more powerful game. Obviously, Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon, and Alabama, and Texas all have very large fan bases. I mean, Florida State does too. But, compared to a Washington, no, they don't even come close. So I think that, number one reason ultimately is that you took it away from a team that did everything that what we tell everybody in our lives to do right. Do the right things and you will be rewarded. Granted, we know that that always isn't the case in life, but this is one of those situations that it could be avoided. It wasn't a health concern. It wasn't a natural disaster concern. It was something in which a committee decided. The second is the fact that, it had never been done before. The committee did two things which had never been done before. Yes, the rules are in there to put the best four teams in there, but does the best qualify for now, or does the best qualify for the entire season? I mean, if so, why do they play these games if we're only going to judge them towards the end of the year? And then you kind of get to the fact that I think, as you saw within a lot of the conversations of the football players, they just deemed that this didn't make any sense to leave the Power Five conference undefeated person out. And that they did so was a shock that since 2014, the playoffs have been in inception. But why do it now when you got a 12 that's coming up next year? And then the third one being, it's the first time that they took players out of the game, so therefore you docked the whole entire team. And that's what they did, is because Travis couldn't play, you docked the entire team. I mean, what about the running backs of Benson and Tolafili? And what about the receivers and the defense? I mean, the defense that played, Louisville is in the top 10 defense there. It was just a shock to say, you did this because of one player was out. You didn't even give him a chance to see what a backup quarterback would do because the backup quarterback got injured in the Florida game. Well, that's not the quarterback that you should have been judging in the ACC championship. That was our third string quarterback. And I would say this to any of the four teams or six teams that we're talking about here, take your quarterback out and stick a third string in there and let me see how you do. You're not going to sit there and blow the roof off. 16-6 was still a 10-point win there. So ultimately, I think that you're not going to hear the end of this. I think because as much as people want to say that, oh, well, prove yourself in the Georgia game, the problem is that with all the transfer portals and everything that's going on with the NFL, these players aren't going to stay there. Why would they? I would be upset if the coach would allow these Florida State seniors to play. If they're going off in the NFL, don't take the chance of getting injured to prove some point to a committee. We're not 10 years old. These are people's lives we're playing with. So I think that you're probably not going to see the best of the best in the Georgia game versus Florida State. Johnny Wilson, our top receiver, has already stated he's not going to be playing. I'm sure there's going to be offensive linemen that are not going to be playing. There's just no reason for it. So I don't believe you're going to see a big mix-up, which is rightly so. Don't give the network what it wants, which is a great game. Don't give them that. So ultimately, I think that you're going to continuously see this. Florida State in the news complaining about this. I still hope they go in and play a good game within the Orange Bowl, but we'll see what happens next year when we get to the 12.